Hello. In today's lesson, we're going to do some application problems. And these application problems are going to deal with our trig ratios that we've learned about in the past couple of lessons. And this is really some neat stuff. So I'm really looking forward to us working together on this. But before we begin, we need to look at two very key vocabulary terms. The first one is the angle of elevation. Angle of elevation. Okay, even the word, when you think about elevating, immediately in your mind, you should think about going up. You elevate. When you elevate, you go up. Okay? So the angle of elevation is always measured from the ground up and is always inside the triangle. All right? That's important. Inside the triangle. So see the picture to the left, X marks the angle of elevation of the top of the tree as seen from some point on the ground. So you have the top of the tree, all right, and this A, okay, is a point on the ground, and it's looking up to the top, elevation, looking up, all right? So that's our angle of elevation. That person is looking up at the top of the tree. The next one is the angle of depression. All right, it says the angle of depression is measured from the horizontal down, all right, from the horizontal down, and is always outside of the triangle. All right, so this is our horizontal. This is our horizontal here. And this person here is actually from the horizontal, is looking down, his sight is looking down at the object. The object is the boat. So this X is the angle of depression. Another way of putting this, and I would write this down, it's the angle between the horizontal and the line of sight to the object. All right, so this is the line of sight to the object. Very important. Now, something you should notice is that this horizontal, where the person is standing on top of the lighthouse, that horizontal is parallel to the ground. So this line, or line of sight, is a transversal. So my angle of depression equals my angle of elevation, because those are alternate interior angles. All right, so it's very, very important that you know that the angle of depression equals the angle of elevation. All right, so let's look at some problems. It says John wants to measure the height of a tree. He walks exactly 100 feet from the base of the tree. All right, let's highlight that. 100 feet from the base of the tree. And looks up. He's looking up, elevating. The angle from the ground to the top of the tree is 33 degrees. How tall is the tree? All right. Now, some things I think are important. One of the first things you should do, highlight some key points. I'm going to highlight the tree. The angle is 33 degrees. I think that's important. And then also, you should draw the picture. Now, somehow, some way, your picture should come out to be a right triangle, because we're dealing with these trig relationships. So I have my tree. Okay, that's not a bad tree. I can hear you. All right, and it's 100 feet from the base. Okay, now the angle from the top of the tree to the ground is 33 degrees. Okay, so that's my angle of elevation. I want to know how tall the tree is. That's going to be X. So what I can do, this is my right angle because the tree is going to make a right angle with the ground. What I'm going to do, and what I've told you to do, is start marking up the triangle. Start identifying the different sides. All right, so I know this is side opposite my right angle is my hypotenuse. The side opposite my angle is O. And then the side next to it is A, my adjacent. I'm going to write feet here. I think that's important. The next step I've told you over the past couple of lessons is you're going to write down SOHCAHTOA. All right. So I have 100 feet away. That's my adjacent. And I'm looking for X. So I have my adjacent, and I'm looking for the opposite. So which trig ratio am I going to use? That's right, tangent. So I'm going to have the tan, or tangent of 33 degrees, is going to equal my opposite, which is X, over my hypotenuse, which is 100. I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to get X equals the tangent of 33 degrees times 100. X equals, once I plug this into my calculator, 64.9407. Now, I go back to my problem, and it says, how tall is a tree to the nearest foot? So I'm going to round, and X equals 65 feet. All right, example 2. It says a bird sits on top of a lamppost. I'm going to underline that. I think that's important. The angle of depression from the bird to the feet of an observer standing away from the lamppost is 35 degrees. Okay? The distance from the bird to the observer is 25 meters. All right, that also is important. It says find to the nearest tenth how tall the lamppost is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that. Lamppost, not too bad. Bird, that's pretty bad. All right, now, so the bird sits on top of the lamppost. All right, the angle of depression, very important, is 35 degrees. So there's that horizontal that we talked about. All right. The sight down is going to be 35 degrees. All right, now the distance from the bird to the observer's on the ground. All right, so that's important. I'm going to give them a letter. The observer's on the ground. All right, the distance is going to be 25 meters. And again, we want to know how tall the lamppost is. So the lamppost is going to make a right angle with the ground. All right, it's perpendicular with the ground. Very important. So now I can start marking up my triangle. One thing that's important that I said to you just a couple minutes ago is that the angle of depression equals the angle of elevation. So I know this angle here is going to be 35 degrees. So now I know my side opposite is what I'm looking for. And I'm given the hypotenuse. And the side next to it is the adjacent. So the trig ratio that deals with opposite and hypotenuse is going to be sine. So I'm going to set up the sine of 35 degrees equals my opposite, which is x, over 25. I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to get x equals the sine of 35 degrees times 25. When I put that in my calculator, it gives me an answer of 14.339. All right, and then I need to find this to the nearest tenth. Very important that we answer the question. All right, to the nearest tenth. So my answer is going to be 14.3 meters. All right, Now what I want you to do, all right, there are a couple of key ideas that I want you to write down. I want you to try and set up and solve for the check your understanding. Remember, draw the picture. The picture is very important. Remember that the angle of elevation equals the angle of depression, very important. And then we will go over tomorrow. Go Cats, go Knights.